When I got involved with Minding Your Mind, I went to a forum that they were having. I was the first person to go up to the mic and I asked the panel, how can we help young adults talk about suicide in an open and honest way? I think this idea of having to be perfect or always having to meet a certain level is something that kids really struggle with. One of the biggest barriers that I've realized speaking and sharing my story is that a lot of these kids come up and talk to me and they say my mom or dad doesn't believe in mental health. They don't believe that what I'm going through is a big deal, that I can just get through it and that there are bigger problems in the world for other people, that I should just get over it. Kids not having their feelings basically validated is something that they struggle with too. And so you go through all of that. On top of it, I haven't even talked about academics yet. So you have that, and what if you play sports, or you play an instrument, or you're in theater? There's so many activities that kids are involved in nowadays. And then also just the aspect of trying to figure out who are my real friends. There are just so many things that kids are dealing with, and we don't give them enough time to vent about what they're going through. So for instance, if someone were to come to me and say, Jordan, I think you've really been struggling, the part of me would shut down if you weren't specific as to, well, how do you know? You don't know my life. But if they were to say, Jordan, I can see you're struggling because I can see by your body language. You don't come out and play basketball with us in the way that you always do. You're not dressing the same. All these things, I can see that there's something going on. I'm just here, I just want to listen and see what's going on. That's really important, just to acknowledge what you see them struggling with, having that conversation. The first step is just listening. It's wonderful to be able to say and deliver the perfect sentence or perfect advice. But the most important part is listening. And so that's what I would tell anyone, is to, if you're worried about someone or concerned about them, one, bring that up, be honest, and then be ready to listen. As far as people talking about mental health issues in an open and honest way, I think we still have a little ways to get there because people are scared of judgment. They might be concerned about coming out and saying what they struggle with. And for me, there are days where I still struggle. I still have depression, I talk about that. I talk about my suicide attempt because I feel as though it can help someone open up and talk about something they may have never talked about before. And that's incredibly important, and I think that by sharing our stories, it kind of helps people open up and talk about these different types of issues. You know, I was really struggling with my mental health, especially with the amount that I was drinking, especially with not taking my medication on a daily basis. Still did not wake up that day thinking, you know, this is probably the day I might attempt suicide. But yeah, leading up to that point, I had really struggled with my therapy, with being honest about how I was feeling. And yeah, that night when I got home after golfing, my dad and my mom came to me and they approached me about alcohol that I had in my car, that I had in a duffel bag, that I had put away. One of the things I hated the most was disappointing my parents, especially with something like drinking. And so I think I got to a point where it was so low that I didn't have any hope. I didn't think I could ever make my parents happy. I felt like I could never make my sister happy. So I felt like there was no other place to go. So yeah, that was the night that I attempted suicide by going out of my 9-story bedroom window. My parents were told I had less than 24 hours to live. 24 hours go by and it was 48 hours, then a 40% chance to live. And it wasn't until a 5th day that my parents were told your son has somewhat of a chance to live. And from that point forward, it was a long physical and emotional recovery. I think we're really getting to a point where it's out there and it's in the open in several different types of communities as well. Talking about depression, talking about suicide, talking about anxiety. The fact that I go to schools and kids are already talking about this is incredible.
Mental health issues have become so prevalent lately. We see in the media, it's such a huge problem and it's almost an epidemic.
Suicide has been a big factor, like, you know, society's norms or just thought process of, like, you know, what is expected out of you.
I try to keep my mind open about mental health issues. As someone who has been diagnosed with depression, I feel like there's still a lot for me to learn. I think the fact that he's still kind of in our age range allowed it to be extremely personable and relatable. I think it reached very well. And it was extremely relevant.